You've likely encountered the name Shango. It carries the echo of thunder, the image of a powerful king from ancient Oyo, an Orisha associated with lightning and fire. These are the entry points, the familiar images. But they are just that, entry points. To truly grasp Shango is to journey deeper than the dramatic tales. Within the Yoruba understanding, the Orishas are more than figures in a pantheon. Think of them as vital energies, emanations from the ultimate source, Oludumare, woven into the fabric of existence. They are also ancestral memory made potent. Great figures whose lives resonated so strongly they became enduring forces. Shango embodies this beautifully. He was a historical ruler, the Alaafin, known for his strength and volatility. His story didn't end with his reign, it transformed. He became the very essence of the storm, demonstrating that the line between profound human experience and the divine energy isn't fixed. So, when we speak of Shango, let's look beyond easy comparisons to thunder gods from other cultures. Those are surface reflections. The real depth lies in understanding Shango within his own context, as a principle, a force, a complex lesson. What then can this figure, this historical king who became a cosmic force, teach us about the nature of power itself, about justice that mirrors a deeper order, about the intense fires of transformation that can arise even from our flaws and challenges? Let us explore the core of Shango beyond myth, touching the metaphysics of power itself. I invite you to delve into these profound questions with me in Shango, Thunder, Justice, and the Metaphysics of Power. I'm Shangai, welcoming you to the House of Horus. Chapter 1. Shango, the King, the Orisha, the Force. So, let us begin. Understanding the metaphysical depth of Shango requires a solid foundation in his established identity, encompassing his domains, mythology, historical context, symbols, and the evolution of his worship across the African diaspora. So, the first step in our path, before we explore his stories or symbols, what is the essence of Shango? What forces does he govern? What is his character, and how is he known? Section A. Essential profile, domains, attributes, and core identity. Shango's influence spans a spectrum of powerful domains. He is fundamentally the Orisha of thunder, lightning, and fire. These elemental forces reflect his core nature, dynamic, potent, and capable of both illumination and destruction. Associated with these are the domains of justice, dance, virility, masculinity, kingship, warfare, and the drums, particularly sacred bata drums. Less commonly known, he is also the patron of twins, Ibeji, sometimes called thunder children. His personality is depicted as equally forceful and complex. He embodies power, charisma, dynamism, confidence, and courage. He is a passionate warrior and leader, yet also possesses a quick temper and can manifest as arrogant, violent, or tyrannical. Counterbalancing this fierceness is his deep love for music, dance, and life itself. Across different regions and traditions, Shango is known by various names, reflecting his widespread influence and diverse manifestations. These include Sango, Chango, Sango, Jakuta, Bade, Ogo, Chango, and even Siete Rayos in some contexts. Within the Yoruba tradition itself, he has numerous aspects or paths. Caminos, as they are known in Santeria, such as Aira, Ogodo, Afonja, Lube, and Obomin, each potentially highlighting different facets of his potent energy. Now that we know his essence, what are the crucial stories, the myths that reveal Shango's complex journey of power, conflict, and ultimate transformation? In the flow of modern life, finding moments to connect with deeper energies and transform our surroundings is essential. Creating spaces that inspire strength, wisdom, and tranquility can ground us. Art provides a powerful gateway, allowing us to visually welcome these potent forces into our daily environment. To help cultivate this atmosphere, the Primal Spark and Sacred Depth Yoruba Visions wall art collection offers evocative portraits of powerful Yoruba Orishas. Each piece embodies the dynamic interplay of divine forces within Yoruba cosmology: passion, wisdom, nature, and mystery. This collection invites these vital energies into your home, serving as daily reminders of balance and inner power. Shango, the enthroned storm, framed matte poster, invoke the formidable majesty of Shango, the enthroned Storm King, radiating contained primal energy and sovereign authority, capturing his intense gaze and command over lightning and justice. This piece features the mighty Oshe, double axe, as a symbol of his potent force. Invite the electrifying presence of the divine Alaafin into your space, embodying both awe-inspiring power and righteous judgment. Orunmila, keeper of Ikin's truth. Seek profound insight with Orunmila, the venerable elder and grand priest of Ifa, whose knowing eyes hold the wisdom of ages. This artwork highlights his sacred act of divination, featuring his wise hands presenting the conduits of primal truth used to interpret destiny's intricate language. Bring the grounding energy of divine knowledge and serene guidance into your home, connecting with the master of foresight. Erinle, the spirit of verdant abundance. Invite the serene bounty of nature with Erinle, the divine provider who embodies the harmony between forest and river. Surrounded by rich greenery, abundant fish, and potent herbs, his regal presence radiates quiet generosity and profound life force. This piece channels the sustaining grace of the wild, infusing your space with grounding, healing energy and the peace of natural abundance. Oshun, the primal river source. Embrace the radiant, life-giving energy of Oshun, the archetype of the primal river source, captured here in a moment of serene ecstasy. Bathed in divine golden light and adorned in flowing yellow, she embodies the vital essence of sweet waters, love, beauty, and fertility. Let this artwork fill your surroundings with the joyful spirit, flowing abundance, and captivating beauty of the sacred river deity. Aja, the wild shepherdess. Connect with the untamed heart of the wild through Aja, the regal guardian of the forest and its creatures. This piece depicts her primal connection to the animal kingdom, commanding respect through deep empathy and protective energy. Invite the grounding wisdom of the forest shepherdess into your space, honoring the sacred bond between the divine feminine and untamed nature. Olokun, the oracle's vessel. Delve into profound mystery with Olokun, mistress of the abyss, whose power resides within the enigmatic oracle's vessel. Centered on the sacred blue and white tureen adorned with pearlescent shells, this artwork evokes her shadowy regal presence, guarding primal secrets. Invite the deep, enigmatic energy of the ocean's depths into your home, connecting with the source of hidden potential, wealth, and dreams. Check the tagged products or the link displayed to bring the Primal Spark and Sacred Depths collection into your home. and support the growth of House of Horrors. Your support allows us to continue sharing visions that connect ancient wisdom with modern spaces. Thank you for being a part of our journey. Section B. Mythic Tapestry. Key narratives of power, conflict, and transformation. The myths surrounding Shango are central to understanding his complex nature. Core narratives often revolve around his time as the Alaafin of Oyo. One prominent storyline involves his fascination with the misuse of magical power. In some versions, he experiments with charms to call down lightning, accidentally destroying his own palace and killing members of his family. Another version attributes him with the ability to breathe fire, a power he uses to vanquish enemies, but which also terrifies his subjects. These narratives frequently feature conflict. He might clash with powerful generals or advisors like Timi and Bonka, attempting to eliminate them through manipulation, only to be outmatched or forced into exile. His rivalry with Ogun, the Orisha of iron and war, is another significant theme, often involving competition over power, status, or the affection of Oya, the Orisha of storms. The trickster Orisha Eshu sometimes acts as his companion, but can also instigate conflict, such as falsely telling Ogun of an affair between Shango and Oya. Shango's relationships with his three wives, Oya, Oshun, and Oba, all powerful Orishas and river goddesses in their own right, are central to his mythology. These stories often involve passion, jealousy, and the interplay of different divine energies. Oya is sometimes depicted as stealing the secrets of his magic. Oshun, often his favorite due to her charm or cooking skills, famously tricks Oba into cutting off her ear to offer to Shango, resulting in Oba's banishment and transformation into the Oba River. These interactions highlight Shango's passionate, sometimes volatile nature, and the dynamic relationships within the Orisha pantheon. He is also noted to have a close bond with Yemoja, often cited as his mother, and a relationship requiring balance with Obatala, the elder Orisha of purity, often seen as a father figure. Ultimately, these myths culminate in Shango's departure from his throne and his transformation, whether through forced exile, abdication, after defeat in a magical context, or unaliving himself by rope, often from an iron tree at Koso. Following tragedy or humiliation, his mortal reign ends. However, his followers claim he did not truly die but ascended to the heavens, often on a golden chain, becoming the Orisha of thunder and lightning. Subsequent storms devastating Oyo were interpreted as Shango's wrath and proof of his divine power. These powerful myths often intertwine with history. So, who was the historical Shango? What was his role as Alaafin of Oyo? And how does Yoruba culture understand the connection between kingship and divinity? C. Historical roots: the Alaafin of Oyo and the Yoruba context. Grounding Shango in history requires understanding his role as an Alaafin of the Oyo Empire, a major Yoruba kingdom that flourished in what is now southwestern Nigeria. The Alaafin was the supreme ruler, considered sacred and possessing significant political and ritual authority. Shango is most commonly identified as the third Alaafin, succeeding Oranimian, often considered his father and the empire's founder, and his peaceful brother Ajaka. Some traditions place him as the fourth king. His reign, often cited as lasting 7 years, was marked by military campaigns, expansion, and prosperity, but also by his volatile and sometimes tyrannical nature, contrasting sharply with Ajaka's rule. The practice of deifying rulers after their death was integral to Yoruba culture, providing a direct link between historical leadership and divine power. Shango's transformation into an Orisha is a prime example of his tradition. Beyond narratives and history, Shango speaks through potent symbols. What are these key symbols, and what layers of meaning do they hold about his power, justice, and dual nature? Section D. Symbolic Language. Decoding the Oshe, Bata drums, colors, and numbers. Shango's essence is communicated through a rich symbolic language. 1. Oshe, or the double X. This is perhaps Shango's most prominent symbol. It represents the thunderbolt hurled from the sky, signifying his immense power and connection to storms. The double head embodies swift and balanced justice and reflects Shango's inherent duality, his capacity for both violence and compassion, destruction and creation. These axes are linked to thunderstones, which are Neolithic stone tools found after storms, believed to contain his energy. Ritual dance ones, Oshe Shango, often depict this double X emerging from the head of a figure, usually a kneeling female devotee. This iconography suggests the devotee's ability to bear Shango's immense power, maintain composure in the face of danger, like balancing fire, and channel his fertile energy. Priests and devotees carry these wands during dances and rituals. 2. Bata drums. These hourglass-shaped, double-headed drums are sacred to Shango. He is said to have designated them for his worship and used them to summon storms. Played in sets of 3, the Iya, mother drum, Itotele, middle drum, and Okonkolo, small drum. Their complex rhythms are a form of prayer capable of speaking to the Orishas, altered consciousness, and inducing spirit possession or trance states. The drums themselves are believed to contain the spirit Anya. 3. Colors. Red and white. These are Shango's primary sacred colors, worn by devotees and used in his elekes, beaded necklaces. They symbolize his fundamental duality. Red represents his fire, passion, power, and warrior nature, while white signifies purity, peace, wisdom, and his connection to the calming influence of Obatala. Numbers 4 and 6. These are Shango's sacred numbers, often appearing in the pattern of his red and white beads. Thunderstones, ancient stone tools, unearthed by lightning strikes, are considered sacred objects imbued with Shango's power, Ashe. Found stones are venerated, kept in shrines, and used in rituals. Other symbols are the ram, which is a key animal associated with Shango, often used in sacrifice and symbolizing his virility and power. Fire and lightning are his elemental manifestations. The royal palm tree is considered his sacred tree. Specific foods are used in his worship, including yam cassava flour paste, his favorite, begiri soup, guguru or popcorn, bitter cola, okra, red apples, green bananas, and specific sacrificial animals like the rooster and turtle. Knowing Shango's essence, stories, history, and symbols, how do people actively connect with and honor him? What are the rituals, festivals, and devotional paths through which his energy is embodied and experienced? Section E. Ritual Embodiment. Worship, festivals, and the path of the devotee. Worship of Shango is an active embodiment practice. Central elements including making offerings, ebo, specific to him, such as his favorite foods, amala, bitter cola, red and white items, and sometimes animal sacrifice, ram, rooster, turtle, drumming, especially with the sacred bata drums, and vigorous dancing are essential forms of prayer and invocation, used to call upon Shango's energy and presence. These practices can lead to altered states of consciousness and spirit possession, where an initiated priest or priestess becomes a vessel of the Orisha. Channeling messages or performing healing, worship often occurs on his sacred journey. The 5th day of the Yoruba week, Ojo Jakuta, or Friday in diasporic traditions, and involves wearing his colors, red and white. The annual Shango festival in Oyo, Nigeria, typically held in August to mark the Yoruba New Year, is a major event commemorating the deified king. It features processions, drumming, dancing, storytelling, specific rites like sharing roasted new yam, and the distinctive plaiting of hair by devotees of all genders. This festival serves religious purposes and reinforces community bonds, social cohesion, and shared cultural identity, unifying people in honoring their ancestor. What happens when Shango's devotees were forcibly taken across the Atlantic? How did worship endure enslavement, transform through syncretism, and manifest in new lands as Shango, Xango, and other powerful forms? Section F. Diasporic Journeys, Shango, and the Resilience of Spirit. The transatlantic slave trade forcibly dispersed millions of Africans, including Yoruba people, carrying their spiritual traditions to the Americas. Despite immense hardship and the suppression of African religions, the worship of Shango took root and flourished in new lands, demonstrating remarkable spiritual resilience. A key strategy for survival was syncretism, the blending of Yoruba Orishas with Catholic saints. Shango was frequently identified with Saint Barbara and sometimes Saint Jerome. The association with Saint Barbara is particularly strong, likely due to shared symbolism. She is often depicted in red and white, holding a sword, wearing a crown like King Shango, and is the patron saint against lightning and sudden death. Legends about her torture being struck by lightning resonate with Shango's primary weapon. Furthermore, a Yoruba myth, Pataki, tells of Shango escaping enemies by dressing in Oya's clothes, mirroring Saint Barbara's narrative of disguise or hidden faith. The syncretism allowed worship to continue under the guise of Catholicism, preserving the core spiritual practices. Shango's presence is prominent across various diasporic religions. 1. Santeria, Regla de Ocha, Cuba, known as Shango with a C. He is one of the most popular and feared Orishas, embodying fire, lightning, thunder, war, music, dance, male beauty, and virility. His feast day is December 4th, Saint Barbara's Day. 2. Candomblé, Brazil, known as Shango with an X. He is a central deity, son of Oranyan, associated with thunder, lightning, fire, and justice. He holds particular importance as a symbol of strength, resistance, and aggression for enslaved populations, becoming a patron of plantations and terreiros, houses of worship. His worship day is often Friday. Voodoo, Haiti. He is part of the Nago nation of spirits and known as Agao Shango, linking him to the Agao family of warrior spirits. Trinidad Orisha, Shango Baptists. The religion itself is often referred to simply as Shango, highlighting his paramount importance in Trinidad. It blends Yoruba Orisha worship with spiritual Baptist practices. Pelo Mayombe, Cuba. He is recognized as Siete Rayos, 7 rays. The remarkable consistency of Shango's core domains, thunder, lightning, fire, justice, dance, symbols, the axe, red and white, and personality across these diverse geographical and cultural landscapes maintained over centuries despite the trauma of slavery and suppression speaks volumes about the power of his archetype and the efficacy of the oral traditions and ritual practices that preserved this knowledge. It suggests an enduring spiritual reality transmitted through resilient cultural memory. Here is a summary of these core identities across traditions. Primary name: Yoruba, Nigeria. Shango with an S, Sango with an S, Jakuta, Bade. In Santeria, Cuba, Shango with a C. In Candomblé, Brazil, Shango with an X. In Voodoo, Ogu, Shango. In Trinidad, Orisha, Shango and Sango. Key domains: Yoruba, Nigeria, thunder, lightning, fire, justice, dance, virility, kingship, drums. Santeria, Cuba, thunder, lightning, fire, war, justice, dance, music, virility, male beauty. Candomblé, Brazil, thunder, lightning, fire, justice, power, resistance, aggression. Voodoo, thunder, weather. Trinidad, Orisha, thunder, lightning. Main symbols: Yoruba, Nigeria, Oshe, the double X, butter, drums, thunderstones. Santeria, Cuba, Oshe, double X, butter, drums, castle, sword, cup. Candomblé, Brazil, Oshe, brass crown, thunderstones. Voodoo, linked to Ago. Trinidad, Orisha, Oshe, double X. Colors: Yoruba, Nigeria, red and white. Santeria, Cuba, red and white. Candomblé, Brazil, red and white. Voodoo, Haiti, red. Trinidad, Orisha, red and white. Numbers: Yoruba, Nigeria, 4 and 6. Santeria, Cuba, 6. Candomblé, Brazil, 6, 12. Voodoo, Haiti, linked to Ogo. Trinidad, Orisha, 6. Syncretized saints: Yoruba, Nigeria, not applicable. Santeria, Cuba, Saint Barbara, Saint Jerome. Candomblé, Brazil, Saint Jerome, Saint Barbara, Saint Peter, Moses, John the Baptist. Voodoo, Haiti, Saint James Major. Trinidad, Orisha, Saint John, Saint Barbara. Worship Day: Yoruba, Nigeria, Ojo Jakuta, 5th day, Friday. Santeria, Cuba, Friday, December 4th. Candomblé, Brazil, Wednesday, Friday. Voodoo, Haiti, linked to Ogo. Trinidad, Orisha, Friday. These variations observed in Shango's narratives across different sources, such as whether he was the 3rd or 4th Alaafin or the precise details of his downfall, did not to be seen merely as historical discrepancies. Within an esoteric framework that prioritizes underlying principles over literalism, these variations can be understood as reflecting the multifaceted nature of his Ashe energy and the diverse lessons his complex story offers. Different lineages or contexts might emphasize distinct aspects of his archetype: the potent ruler, the flawed human, the agent of divine retribution, or the transformed ancestor. These are not contradictions, but complementary facets of a powerful and enduring spiritual reality. Chapter 2: Unveiling the Esoteric Shango. Core metaphysical themes. Moving beyond the foundational attributes and narratives, the esoteric significance of Shango emerges through the deeper analysis of core metaphysical themes embedded within his worship and symbolism. To truly understand Shango's metaphysical significance, we must grasp the animating force behind him and all creation. What is this vital energy the Yoruba call Ashe, and how does Shango embody its fiery spark? Section A: Ashe, the spark of divine power and its manifestation. Central to understanding Shango and the Yoruba cosmos is the concept of Ashe. Ashe is the divine life force, the inherent power, energy and authority that animates all things in the universe. It is the empowered word that must come to pass. the energy regulating all movement and activity, connecting the physical and spiritual realms. Ashe is not merely an abstract concept. It is a palpable force that can be invoked, directed, and experienced, activating the power and presence of Orishas, ancestors, and even objects within ritual context. Shango is a particularly potent embodiment of Ashe, specifically representing its dynamic, fiery, assertive, and masculine aspects. His control over thunder, lightning, and fire are direct manifestations of this raw, powerful energy. Lightning in particular is seen as the tongue of Shango, a direct expression of his Ashe that brings instantaneous illumination and realization, cutting through darkness and ignorance. The concept of Ashe has proven remarkably resilient, persisting in the African diaspora. It is found in the naming of candomblé houses of worship as Ile Axe, House of Ashe, in Brazil, and is implicitly present in the experience of the spirit or power within African American church traditions, often linked to leadership potential. This underscores Ashe as a fundamental element of Yoruba-derived spirituality. Beyond raw power, Shango is known as the bringer of justice. How is this justice understood? What do his thunderbolts truly represent? And how does this divine judgment differ from the laws made by humankind? Section B. The Thunderbolt of Justice. Cosmic law versus human systems. Shango is unequivocally the Orisha of justice. His instruments are not gavels and law books, but thunder and lightning. Esoterically, these are not random acts of nature, but targeted expressions of divine justice, striking down those who offend the moral or cosmic order, break oaths, or act unjustly. This connects to his title, Ebinu Olorun, the wrath of God, suggesting his justice aligns with the ultimate will of the Creator. The double-headed Oshe axe further symbolizes this, representing swift and balanced justice. This concept of divine justice offers a stark contrast to human legal systems. Shango's justice is immediate, impartial, and often severe, cutting through deception and striking at the root of transgression. This implicitly critiques human justice, which can be slow, prone to manipulation, influenced by power dynamics, and potentially fail to address the true harm caused. While human systems often focus on transactional punishment, an eye for an eye, Shango's justice, though fearsome, aims to restore cosmic balance and uphold moral values. His actions remind us that there are consequences beyond human laws, governed by a higher, often inscrutable order. We see Shango as judge, warrior, king, but his nature is more complex than any single role. How is the essential duality of existence, creation and destruction, fire and wisdom, reflected in Shango's very being and symbols, particularly his sacred colors? Section C. Embracing duality, the dance of creation and destruction, red and white. Duality is fundamental to Shango's nature and symbolism. He is both king and god, embodying fierce passion yet requiring the balance of Obatala's wisdom. His energy is both creative, bringing prosperity, life-giving rain through storms, inspiring music and dance, and destructive, unleashing devastating lightning and fire, exhibiting tyranny. He is the warrior and the lover, the ruler and the dancer. This complexity is visually encoded in his symbols, the sacred colors: red representing fire, blood, passion, power, life, action, and white representing purity, peace, wisdom, coolness, Obatala's influence, death, ancestors in some contexts. And the double-headed Oshe X symbolizes the two sides of his power and justice. From an esoteric perspective, this duality is not a flaw or contradiction, but a reflection of a fundamental cosmic principle. The necessary tension and interplay of opposites, like the concept of yin and yang. Shango embodies the idea that creation and destruction, passion and wisdom are intertwined forces that drive the dynamism of existence. True power, his symbolism suggests, lies not in choosing one over the other, but in understanding, balancing, and integrating these complementary energies. Beyond his static nature, how does Shango's story arc itself teach us? What deeper meaning lies in his transformation from a flawed king to a divine force? And how does this echo processes of inner alchemy and spiritual rebirth? Section D. Alchemy of the Soul. Transformation through ordeal and ascension. Shango's life story, particularly his fall from power and subsequent deification, can be interpreted as a profound allegory for spiritual alchemy and transformation. His reign, marked by arrogance and misuse of power, leads to devastating consequences. The destruction of his palace, the death of his family, the loss of his kingdom, and ultimately, his own death or departure. This ordeal, this descent into suffering and loss driven by his own actions, acts as a crucible. His transformation into an Orisha, his ascension to the heavens, is not a denial of his flaws but a transcendence achieved through them. It represents a spiritual death and rebirth, where the flawed mortal king is refined by fire, both literal and metaphorical, into a divine force. This narrative embodies the alchemical principle of turning lead into gold, or psychological process of integrating the shadow self to achieve a higher state of being. Shango provides the inspiration and passion for spiritual transformation, demonstrating that even catastrophic failure can be a catalyst for achieving one's highest destiny, iwapele, or good character. This ancestral current flowed across the Atlantic. We saw earlier how Shango was syncretized with saints like Barbara. But looking deeper, what was the esoteric significance of this blending? Was it merely hiding or a deliberate spiritual strategy for survival and resilience? Shango's transformation connects his human life to his divine status. How does this duality as both historical king and Orisha reflect the Yoruba understanding of ancestors? And what does he represent as a powerful ancestral archetype? Section E. Ancestral Echoes. The king as archetype, history as spirit. The fact that Shango is both historical Alaafin and a revered Orisha underscores the deep significance of ancestor veneration within Yoruba cosmology. In this worldview, ancestors are not merely memories but active spiritual forces who continue to interact with and influence the living. They are sources of ashe, guidance, protection, and identity, bridging the past and the present. Shango, as a deified royal ancestor, becomes a powerful archetype. He embodies not only his individual story but also the collective memory, the inherent power, the leadership potential, and perhaps even the historical traumas and unresolved lessons of the Yoruba people. His narrative serves as a living myth, continually reinterpreted to reflect enduring human and cultural patterns related to power, justice, and transformation. Connecting with Shango, therefore, can be seen as connecting with a potent ancestral current. Section F. Syncretism as spiritual strategy, adapting and enduring. The syncretism observed in the diaspora, particularly the identification of Shango with Saint Barbara, is more than just a superficial blending of a passive act of hiding. From an esoteric standpoint, It represents a sophisticated and active spiritual technology, a conscious strategy for cultural survival and resilience under conditions of extreme oppression. By mapping the attributes of their Orisha onto acceptable Catholic figures, enslaved Africans and their descendants were able to maintain the continuity of their core beliefs, rituals, and spiritual energy, Ashe, while navigating a hostile environment that sought to erase their heritage. This process demonstrates the inherent adaptability, dynamism, and intellectual sophistication of Yoruba-derived spirituality, showcasing its ability to absorb and creatively reinterpret external forms without losing its essential core. It is cultural resilience manifested as spiritual innovation. The resilience of the tradition relies on its core practices. How do the rhythms of the bata drums and movements of dance serve as more than cultural expression? What is their role as spiritual technologies for altering consciousness and connecting with the Orishas? Section G. The power of rhythm, bata drums, dance, and altered states. The role of music and dance, particularly the bata drums, in Shango worship transcends mere cultural expression. It is a core metaphysical practice. The complex, driving rhythms of the bata are understood as a sacred language, a form of prayer that communicates directly with the Orishas. The drumming is explicitly used to alter consciousness, to create a convergence of power that facilitates spiritual possession or trance states, allowing the divine to manifest physically within the community. The bata drums are not just instruments but sacred entities themselves, vessels of the spirit, Anya, acting as intermediaries. Some interpretations even view bata drumming as a form of divination, a way to access non-ordinary cognition. Dance, which Shango masters, is similarly a spiritual technology. It is a way to embody the Orisha's energy, express devotion, release emotion, and enter altered states. The rhythm synchronization of drumming, chanting, and dancing creates a powerful energetic field conducive to spiritual experience. This resonates with shamanic traditions worldwide and modern understandings of sound healing, where specific frequencies and rhythms are used to affect consciousness and energy fields. In the Yoruba context, rhythm is a fundamental tool for navigating between the visible world, Aye, and the invisible spirit world, Orun, a vibrational key unlocking divine communication. The recurring motif of Shango's power being both creative, bringing rain, prosperity, inspiring leadership, and destructive, tyranny, uncontrolled lightning, serves as a potent metaphysical lesson. It suggests that Ashe itself, the raw divine energy Shango embodies, is fundamentally neutral. Its manifestation as beneficial or harmful depends entirely on the consciousness, the wisdom, balance, ethical grounding, iwapele, and intention with which it is wielded. Shango's narrative arc, including his need for Obatala's balancing influence, thus becomes a profound cautionary tale about the immense responsibility that accompanies access to potent spiritual or personal power. Chapter 3. Shango Within, the Archetype and the Individual Journey. The metaphysical themes surrounding Shango are not merely abstract concepts. They offer profound insights and practical applications for the individual's inner life and spiritual development. Shango exists not only in myth and ritual, but also as an archetype within the human psyche. These profound lessons resonate deeply within us. How can we connect with Shango not just as an external force, but as an archetype living within our own psyche, helping us to ignite our personal power, passion, and leadership potential. Section A: Igniting Personal Power, embodying Shango's charisma, passion, and leadership. Shango can be understood as an archetype representing core aspects of personal power residing within each individual. These include innate drive, passion, charisma, confidence, courage, assertiveness, and the potential for leadership. Recognizing this inner Shango allows individuals to consciously access and cultivate these qualities. While sometimes described as total maleness, this archetype transcends literal gender, representing the dynamic, assertive principle, yang, potentially active in everyone. Modern esoteric and psychological practices often work with such archetypes to facilitate self-discovery and empowerment. Embodying Shango means embracing intense energies like passion and drive. How do we tend this inner fire responsibly? Drawing lessons from Shango's own story to avoid the pitfalls of uncontrolled power. B. Tending the inner fire, constructively channeling intense energies. Shango's association with fire and lightning serves as a powerful metaphor for the intense energies within the individual psyche. Passion, creative drive, ambition, righteous anger, sexual energy, libido, and spiritual fervor. This resonates with concepts of inner fire found in diverse spiritual practices like yoga or qigong, representing life force, vital life force, and transformative energy. The connection of Shango to the root chakra and the Aganyu life force, a coiled dormant energy at the base of the spine akin to Kundalini, further emphasizes this link to primal foundational power and the will to live. Shango's own story, where his uncontrolled power leads to destruction, becomes a crucial lesson. It highlights the necessity of consciously managing this inner fire, channeling passion constructively, tempering anger with wisdom, finding healthy outlets for ambition, to avoid being consumed by these potent energies and prevent causing harm to oneself or others. The lesson of balance hints at embracing our full selves. How does Shango's journey, encompassing both majesty and profound error, provide a map for integrating our own shadow aspects and finding transformation not in perfection but in wholeness? C. Integrating the shadow, owning personal duality and complexity. Shango's inherent duality, king and god, creative and destructive, passionate and wise, potentially, red and white, mirrors the complex and often contradictory nature of the human psyche. This provides a powerful mythical framework for understanding the psychological concept of the shadow self, those aspects of our personality that we repress, deny, or project onto others because they conflict with our own conscious self-image or societal expectations. Shango's narrative, featuring his tyranny, anger, and mistakes, vividly illustrates the shadow side of power and passion. However, his eventual ascension after facing the consequences of his actions serves as a potent symbol for the process of shadow work. Confronting and integrating these darker aspects is essential for achieving wholeness, authenticity, and spiritual maturation. Avoiding the shadow, as psychological theory suggests, leads to projection, internal conflict, and stunted growth. Shango's journey suggests that embracing one's full complexity, including the flaws, is the path to true power and transformation. This aligns remarkably with the concept of individuation, where integrating the shadow is crucial for self-realization. Shango's myth, therefore, offers an indigenous psychological model, suggesting that confronting consequences and integrating one's destructive potential can be the very pathway to accessing higher consciousness and divine potential, reframing failure as a catalyst. Integrating our inner complexity prepares us for life's sudden shifts. How does Shango's most dramatic symbol, the lightning bolt, represent those unexpected moments, crises or insights that can shatter our world but also illuminate our path forward? D. Life's Thunderbolts, finding meaning in sudden insight and challenge. Shango's lightning can be interpreted on a personal level as representing sudden disruptive events in life. These could be flashes of profound insight or realization that shatter old beliefs, or unexpected crises, losses, or challenges that overturn the status quo, like literal lightning. These moments can be startling, frightening, and initially appear destructive to one's established life or sense of self. However, drawing from Shango's symbolism, these thunderbolt moments can also be viewed as opportunities for illumination and growth. They can reveal hidden truths, expose underlying fears or unsustainable patterns, and ultimately clear the way for necessary transformation. Much like Shango's own trajectory was altered by the consequences of his actions. We've connected with Shango through archetype, energy, management, shadow work, and ancestry. Finally, how does his association with dance and music offer a practical, embodied pathway for transformation? How can we literally dance our truth towards greater integration and power? F. In your truth, creative expression as a path to transformation. Shango's deep association with dance and music underscores the transformative power of creative expression. In his worship, dance is not mere entertainment, but a form of prayer, a way to embody divine energy, and a pathway to altered states of consciousness. Individuals can draw inspiration from this, exploring rhythm, movement, music, or other creative arts as tools for personal growth. Engaging in creative expression can be a way to connect with one's inner Shango, the passionate, dynamic energy, process complex emotion, release blockages, and facilitate personal transformation through embodied practice. The Yoruba understanding linking Shango to the root chakra and the Aganyu life force suggests that spiritual awakening is deeply embodied. Accessing higher consciousness involves awakening and managing primal energies with the physical body itself, grounding the spiritual journey in lived physical experience. Chapter 4. Shango in the World, Societal Dynamics and Collective Energy. The archetypal energy and narratives associated with Shango also offer potent metaphors for understanding broader societal dynamics, including social change, leadership, justice, and cultural resilience. Shango's power isn't confined to personal experience, it echoes in societal shifts. How does his association with thunder and lightning translate into a powerful lens for viewing collective moments of intense change, disruption, and the clearing away of old orders? Section A. The Societal Storm. Shango as a metaphor for revolution, change, and disruption. Shango's domain over thunder and lightning translates powerfully into a societal metaphor for periods of intense upheaval, revolution, and radical change. His energy represents the forces that disrupt established orders, challenge the status quo, and clear the ground for new possibilities. This Shango energy embodies the duality of such transformations. It can be destructive, overthrowing existing structures and norms, but also creative and necessary, removing obstacles to progress and enabling the emergence of new forms of social organization. Historical revolutions, major social movements, or even periods of rapid technological or cultural shift can be viewed through the lens of this dynamic, often turbulent, archetypal energy. If Shango's energy can reshape society, what about the leadership that wields such power? How does Shango, the king, serve as both an inspiration and a cautionary tale regarding authority, responsibility, and the societal structures needed to check power? Section B. Models of power, leadership, responsibility, and the shadow of tyranny. As a deified king, Shango provides a complex case study in leadership. He embodies charismatic authority, strength, the ability to command loyalty, and the capacity to bring prosperity. However, his narrative also starkly portrays the shadow side of power, the potential for tyranny, capricious decision-making, unchecked anger, and the devastating consequences of misusing authority. This serves as a timeless warning about the responsibilities inherent in leadership and the dangers of authoritarianism. Lessons echoed even today. The importance of wise counsel, speaking truth to power, taking responsibility are woven into the fabric of Shango's rise and fall. The historical existence of checks and balances within the Oyo system, like the Great Council of Chiefs, the Oyo Messi, or the advisory groups, underscores the age-old societal wisdom of tempering powerful figures and holding them accountable. We've considered Shango's power in leadership, but what about his role in societal justice? How does his swift divine justice contrast with human legal frameworks? And what critical questions does his archetype pose to our own pursuit of fairness? Section C. Seeking true justice. Shango's challenge to societal systems. Examining Shango as the Orisha of justice on a societal level invites a critical look at human institutions of law and order. The concept of divine justice embodied by Shango, swift, impartial, focused on restoring cosmic balance, delivered via lightning, stands in contrast to the often slow, complex, fallible, and potentially biased nature of human courts and legal frameworks. Shango's archetype challenges societies to question whether their justice systems truly achieve fairness, addressing root causes of harm, or merely perpetuate cycles of retribution. Does societal justice align with a higher moral or cosmic order, or is it just subject to the limitations and corruptions inherent in human power structures? The tension between Shango's sometimes harsh methods and his ultimate role in upholding order raises questions about the nature of justice itself. Is it purely punitive, or does it contain elements of transformation and re-establishment of balance? We've seen how Shango's worship adapted through syncretism. From a societal perspective, how can we understand this phenomenon as a testament to the collective will to survive and persevere identity? What does it teach us about cultural resilience as a group effort? Section D. Cultural survival. Syncretism and resilience as collective adaptation. The phenomenon of syncretism, where Shango was identified with figures like Saint Barbara, represents a powerful example of collective cultural adaptation and resilience. Faced with the brutal oppression of slavery and the forced imposition of foreign religious systems, African diasporic communities utilized syncretism not as a sign of assimilation, but as a strategic means to preserve their own spiritual heritage. This creative blending allowed the core tenets, rituals, music, dance, and identity associated with Shango and other Orishas to survive, adapt, and be transmitted across generations, ensuring the continuity of Yoruba spiritual consciousness in the Americas. Having journeyed through Shango's foundations, his deeper meanings, his reflections within us, and his echoes in the world, let us now draw on these threads together. Conclusion: synthesizing Shango's enduring metaphysical relevance. Shango emerges from this analysis not merely as a historical figure or deity of storms, but as a complex and enduring metaphysical archetype with profound relevance for both individual and societal understanding. His essence, rooted in the Yoruba concept of Ashe, embodies raw dynamic power, the fiery energy of creation, passion, leadership, and justice, but also the potential for destruction and tyranny if unbalanced by wisdom and ethical grounding. The narratives of his life, reign, downfall, and ascension provide a powerful allegory for transformation through ordeal. They suggest that confronting personal flaws and the consequences of misused power, rather than avoiding them, is integral to spiritual growth and the potential realization of one's higher self or divine connection. This resonates deeply with psychological concepts of shadow integration and alchemical refinement of the soul. Shango's journey from flawed king to ascended Orisha offers a model for embracing human complexity and finding strength not in perfection, but in resilience and transformation. His symbolism, the dual-natured Oshe axe, the red and white colors represent the interplay of passion and purity. The Thunderbolt signifying both divine justice and sudden illumination. The sacred batter drums, bridging earthly and spiritual realms through rhythm, provides a rich language for contemplating fundamental metaphysical principles like duality, balance, and the nature of power. The persistence of these symbols and Shango's core attributes across the diaspora, maintained through practices like Syncretism, highlights the profound resilience of Yoruba spiritual traditions and the enduring power of cultural memory transmitted through ritual, music, and dance. On a societal level, Shango serves as a potent metaphor for forces of change, revolution, and disruption. His story offers critical perspectives on leadership, warning against the dangers of unchecked power while celebrating charisma and strength. His embodiment of divine justice challenges the limitations and potential inequalities of human systems, prompting reflection on true fairness and cosmic order. Furthermore, the communal nature of his worship underscores the vital role of shared ritual and belief in fostering social cohesion and collective identity. Ultimately, exploring the esoteric dimensions of Shango invites a deeper engagement with fundamental questions about personal power, the nature of justice, the dynamics of transformation, the connection to ancestry, and the interplay between individual consciousness and collective forces. He remains a vital Orisha, a thundering archetype whose energy continues to illuminate the complexities of the human condition and the enduring quest for balance, justice, and spiritual realization in the modern world. Thank you for joining me. Join me again next time. This is the House of Horus, signing out.